Hey, welcome to Cashflow Conversations with Dell. I remember right about 5 years ago, I still had my securities license, and a client asked me, Dell, should I invest in Bitcoin? And I was like, yeah, maybe. But I can't give that financial advice right now because it's not regulated yet. Well, 5 years later, pretty amazing. And the same question. Should I invest in cryptocurrency, let alone Bitcoin and Ethereum? Unbiasedly, and this is purely entertainment, not financial advice, just financial education. But really, should I have invested 5 years ago? Hey, Del Fujinaka here, another thought in cash flow conversations. Now, why the heck am I wearing a helmet? Kind of bummed that I'm messing up my hair, but in a day and this age, who am I to complain? Could be worse. I mean, like wars, disruptive innovation. This is the time. Wanted to just get this out on video of the question of, I was asked, should I invest in cryptocurrency? And there's a point of why I'm showing this at a time. But I was just thinking, how do I be the example as far as investing in cryptocurrency? Because that's part of disruptive innovation. You have so many people saying whether or not we should or not, and the other side not. But for decades I was a financial advisor, so I couldn't even though if it was the right idea, I wouldn't be able to recommend it. But I began to look at the power of the dollar and a camp that's saying the dollar is going to crash. And then I look at the hard assets like real estate and gold and silver. That camp, the intrinsic value right now, March 1st, 2022, intrinsic value of 1 ounce of gold, $22,000. But there's different reasons why it's being pressed down and only at 1900. But why now cryptocurrency? Well, the purpose of this video is to look at eliminating any excuse for the underdog to put in money. And my situation was, my wife was very uncertain. I asked her, should I invest? Is it okay if I invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, this other one in alignment with network and cell phone towers? But 3 years ago, guys like Jamie Dimon and John Fink, so JP Morgan and BlackRock, they were calling Bitcoin a hoax. And so I get it. I look at what the big boys doing and I track what they're saying and what they're doing. Well, the beginning of 2021, folks, they're not calling it a hoax anymore. Both Jamie Dimon as well as Larry Fink ended up hiring the best Bitcoin asset managers and qualified them in the middle of the year only for institutional investment. So now all of a sudden this becomes a part of the portfolio. Now common sense tells me then, if I look at the whales and institutional investors being a part of this, if they just reallocate 1-2% into Bitcoin, then I can see, wow, that's definitely going to validate why some guys are talking about Bitcoin being at 200,000 a token. Or those of you who are invested in the market, that would be a share. So now why this video? Well, sometimes it's just sacrificing and not saving to put money in the bank, but sacrificing to put money in assets. And I'm just setting the example here. Instead of going all the way to my convenient downtown office, a couple of years ago I decided to say, I'm going to sacrifice and not pay $500 a month for my convenient parking space. And I'm going to wake up earlier because I have to get that parking space. It's in high demand, but I'll wake up early. And I'm going to show some results after that I opened up an exchange wallet, reallocated my $500 a month that I was going to lose anyway, and then put it into that exchange wallet, investing in the primary cryptocurrency that I thought would be there for the longest. And so it's almost like if I had the opportunity to invest in the internet and the different options back in the 90s, it's like all over again, folks. But the cool thing is, I showed this to my wife, and that money of $500 a month, I was gonna lose it anyway. So now in a time of tremendous volatility because of the war, I'm okay with seeing it go down. Because it's just dollar cost averaging again back up. And so interesting times. I wanted to archive in history and these times of should I invest in cryptocurrency. Just a thought. Del Fujinaka signing off. So let's land this thought on should I invest in cryptocurrency. I shared about exchange wallets, and there's a different levels of managing risk there. You want to get a hold of a Ledger Nano S or a Trezor wallet, which is looking like a USB drive that's totally off the grid. So if ever gold bars are too heavy to move and you got to move and the dollar gets shot, and then you'll have an asset digitally. But we don't know, right? It's a big speculation, but more and more evidence based on what I'm going to share with you builds on something that is actually legit. Look, the issues of eliminating excuses, both personally or possibly even with a spouse, we can't get away from that with conflicts and disagreements. But you need to position yourself and think creatively. So just to recap, one of the excuses I eliminated was to invest in cryptocurrency because I began to see evidence of more and more it being a viable position for a financial tool in my overall goals. So I proposed this, that the convenience I would have in a very quality office space, my parking, I was looking at my whole balance sheet, not my balance sheet, my QuickBooks. I'm going, where can I allocate? And that $500 that normally for parking and parking usage, if I redirect that, I sacrifice a little, don't have to be all convenient, entering in right through the parking structure, coming right into an AC. If I inconvenience myself a little bit, then I have that $500 freed up that if I lose it all, I was gonna use it all anyway. And so that was a good platform to eliminate that excuse. So that $500 a month, in fact, why don't you go ahead and take a look at this here, goes into an exchange wallet. And I don't care if the volatility is 20% up, 20% down. I'm just dollar cost averaging in and seeing what will happen in the long haul. And so I like the results in the last 2 years. And we're in unprecedented times where there's not only disruption in innovation, there's disruption in physical, there's disruption in foreign policies, there's disruption in monetary policies. There's so much going on with these variables And what is this small allocation possibly going to do for me in the future? We'll find out. But remember, keep it simple. If the dollar gets shot, even though some arguments saying that they're the best of the worst, so it's going to be very difficult for the dollar to get shot. They're the world reserve currency, my gosh. But if it does, then there's the solid insight of gold as a hard asset and real estate. But then gold got even confiscated in the past. So do you have your clear plan of action there? Silver for bartering. So it has its place if the dollar gets shot in the light of uncertainty. But now all of a sudden, here we have this crypto that's decentralizing from the elites, decentralizing from the fiat currency system. So where are you in the overall picture in the financial system, and are you ready? That was my clear point for number 2, diversifying in your cash flow. And my last one would be do what banks do. So when I'm looking at doing what banks do, I want to look at what the big boys are doing. And just to recap again and finish off, 3 years ago, Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink were calling Bitcoin a fallacy, a hoax.
I asked you about Bitcoin, if you remember. We were on a stage together, and back then you said, I believe, that you were not a believer in Bitcoin. I think you're worried that the government might not allow Bitcoin, but it appears you've changed your mind. They want to know why. Walk us through what happened.
We use the blockchain. We have the JP Morgan coin, which is a dollar-backed blockchain. You can move the money, split into little pieces, go with information. So we're a believer in that. We're a believer in cryptocurrency, properly regulated and properly backed.
Maybe even hoodwinked. I heard one client say that. And all of a sudden in 2021, they hire qualified Bitcoin asset managers, and now institutional investors are taking a small position. So when you hear the term whales, it's all meaning JP Morgan, $4 trillion in assets, 120 billion in revenues. It's not from one person. The question is, how the heck did they do that? Let alone BlackRock with Larry Fink. 1988 they started, and they have $10 trillion in assets under management. I remember positioning BlackRock as a part of my portfolio for clients. I love their global asset allocation because I knew the acceleration of going global, not just S&P and 500 top companies in the US. So it was a good discipline to mitigate risk in an up or down market. But BlackRock, 1988 they start. And they're at 22 billion in revenue, and they are now the largest asset management company in the world. You don't have to know everything, but if you keep it simple, if they're doing it, maybe it might make sense to look into allocating some, but eliminate excuses, diversify in buying assets, and look what the big boys are doing. Hope this helps. Del Fujinaka, Cashflow Conversations, signing off. Aloha.